Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining this webinar. My name is Mohan, and I will be taking you all through the features and the functionalities of Kredily, and mainly we are focusing on payroll in this session. So we are going to learn how to do the payroll setup and how to run the payroll, how to generate pay slips, how to do the payout. We are going to learn about all these things in today's webinar, and if you have any questions, you can write in your questions in the chat section, and I'll be taking your questions towards the end of this webinar. And before I start, I would also request you guys to go to Google Play Store and install Kredily's mobile application as well. Everything that we are going to learn in this session will be will be available in the mobile app as well. So you can use your mobile app to process payroll and even to generate payslips for your employees. So with that being said, I'll be starting the webinar and I'll be taking you guys to the payroll module. For that, I'm just going inside the payroll module from the dashboard itself. If you guys have logged into your profiles, you can do this. And the very first thing is to do the settings. And to do the settings, I'm going to the advanced settings option. Fundamentally, we are defining all the PFESI settings, the statutory settings, the salary structure, the CTC and everything before we process payroll for our organization. The first thing is your pay settings, which will have all the basic information like your pay frequency, pay cycle, pay date, date of joining cutoff. These are all self-explanatory. You don't actually need these depends on organizations. They can set a date. A few organizations set their pay cycle as 1st to 31st, few set it as 25th to 24th, few set it as 20th to 19th. Depending on your pay cycle, you can set the dates. Same goes with your pay date as well. Some companies do salaries on the 31st, some do on the 1st, some do on the 5th. So depending on what you guys are following, you can set this up. And you can also add your you can also make changes in terms of the payday calculation if you want to include week offs or exclude it from your pay from your salary. You can turn it on or turn it off depending on your preference. Same goes with your holidays as well. I'm really sorry. Same goes with your holidays as well. And then you can also turn on the tax projections and the tax computation for your employees, which means your employees will get an option to look at their tax projections, and also they'll get an option to download their tax computation. So these are all basic settings. Now we'll come to PF and ESI settings. This is where you will define your PF and ESI. Your PF can be defined as 12% of basic or 12% of the entire gross, or even fixed value or a custom formula. For example, if you don't want to follow the standard norms and if you want to define your own PF formula, you can enter that in custom formula section. And once this is set, you can also enable the statutory minimum ceiling. If you want the PF to be clocked at 1,800 rupees a month, you can turn this on or you can keep this off. You can make this PF component as loss of pay dependent component or independent. It's just a toggle. Use this toggle according to your preference. And then you can also include or exclude your employer PF contributions in CTC. You can also override PF individually for your employees. So there is this option called allow individual override, PF override. You can turn it on or turn it off according to your preference. Lastly, you can also include the PF admin charges, EDLI and admin charges in employee CTC itself. Then comes your ESI settings. There's nothing much to play around in ESI. It's the standard itself. If any employee's gross salary is less than 21K, the employee ESI contribution will be 0.75% of gross and the employer PF contribution will be 3.25% of the gross. This can be included or excluded from the CTC. This can be overridden as well. These are all just toggles. Turn them on or turn them off according to your preference. In overview, you can make changes to your employees PF and ESI at an individual level. You can click on edit and make whatever changes you need in terms of PF and ESI. You can also add your PF number, ESI number, UAN number, VPF number. If you want to individually make changes to the PF calculation or the ESI calculation for whatever reasons, you can make the changes here. But this is not required, as Kredily is going to calculate PF and ESI automatically. These are all just exceptional scenarios where if you have to override PF for a particular employee for whatever reason. Then comes your PT settings. You'll just have to turn it on and select this all states option, and PT will be automatically calculated. Then comes your declaration settings. Here you will define a window for your income tax declarations. If you set up a window, your employees will be able to declare their income tax from or within this time window that is specified. So in this case, I have started the window from 1st of April 2022 and it is going to end on 21st of March 2023. You can make changes to this. You can set up the window according to your company's preference. Then the next option is to create components. While creating component, you can create multiple types of components. The first is the base component itself. These are the components which are also statutory. You cannot get rid of these components from your structure. Your base component, your HRA, your PF, ESI, special allowance, these are all going to be there in any salary structure you're creating. Then comes your recurring component. Recurring components are the components which are defined by your organization, and you can define it the way you want. I mean, it's going to be completely in your control. For example, we have created multiple components in Kredily. These are also the most widely used components in India. For example, if I have to take this component, medical bonus. So this is an allowance given to my employees, and this component is included in CTC. I do not need any proof to give this allowance to my employees. If you want proof, you can keep this on. And this component is taxable. If you don't want this to be taxable, you can turn this taxable option off as well. And this component can be individually overridden. And this is a loss of pay independent component because I've turned off this loss of pay dependent toggle. These are all just yes or no toggles, and you can turn them on or turn them off according to your company's policy, your company's preference. Now you can do the calculation in two ways. One is you can keep the calculation flat and mention the flat amount, or you can keep the calculation slab wise and you can mention the value according to each slab. So if the slab is let's say between 0 to 3 lakhs, then the value of this component should be 25k. And if this ETC or salary is between 3 lakhs to 5 lakhs, then the component value is going to be 30k. So like this, you can create multiple slabs and you can define this component according to the slab. And likewise, there are no restrictions for the number of components you're going to create. You can create any number of components. And the next type of component is your variables. Variable means these are the components which is not necessarily going to reoccur in your salary structure. It could be a recurring component as well, like your incentive. If you are performing well every month, you will get incentives every single month. But the amount of incentives, the number will change. You might get 2,000 rupees this month or 10,000 rupees next month, 20,000 rupees next month. This value will change. So that is why these components are all called as variables. It need not to be a recurring component. Even if it is recurring, the value of this component might change very likely. So an example for this variable component is your annual bonus or your festival bonus. For example, your Diwali bonus or the Christmas or New Year bonus, you will get it once a year, either in the month of October or November. If it is New Year bonus, you will get it in the month of January. So these are all just once a year bonuses. So likewise, you can add multiple bonuses. You can add you can create any number of variable components, not just for bonus, even for other purposes like your incentives or your quarterly incentives, half-yearly incentives, joining bonus, retaining bonus. So whatever bonus components you have in your organization, you can add them in the variable section. And the only difference between a recurring component and a variable component is you can set the frequency of this component. If I say this is an annual component, I can also decide which month I am going to um, add this component in my employee's salary. So now I'm saying I'm going to add it in the month of October. Should this be included in CTC? It's a yes or no toggle. You can decide according to your preference. And should the tax be deducted one time in that particular month, or should the tax be distributed across the rest of the financial year? This is also an option that you can choose. You can again keep this as an individually overwritten component, or if you want this to be a fixed component, don't want your don't want this component to be changed or altered, you can turn it off. And again, you can either keep it flatwise or slabwise. So that's about variable. And you also have an ad hoc component section. This is where you can add all the components that's actually not defined in this ATC. These are all called as the out-of-the-box components as well. These are never defined, never informed to your employees about these ad hoc components. These will come into the picture when there is something that you have to give to your employees which is not defined, which is not one of the preset components in the structure. For example, your salary advance, referral bonus, or even arrears could be added as an ad hoc if you wish to. You can create an ad hoc component by clicking on the create component option. Give it a name, choose if it has to be a taxable component or not, choose if ESI should be applicable or not, and save it. Once it is saved, you can also use this ad hoc component while processing the salary, which we are going to learn later. Same way, you can also create an ad hoc deduction component as well. So once it is done, you also have a payout settings. This is where you will add all your employees' bank account details. You can either click on edit and add all the details, or if you want to do it in bulk, you can click on the import button and upload an Excel sheet. We also have payslip settings. This is where you see the presets, the eight individual separate payslip formats. You can choose one of the formats that is best suitable for your company's preference. Then we have a bank integration option. If you are using an ICICI bank account as your corporate bank account to pay salaries to your employees, you can directly integrate that with Kredily. If not, we also have an option called Kredpay, which is a virtual banking platform created by Kredily, and this is absolutely free for all Kredily users. And these are just normal NEFT transactions. You don't have to pay anything extra, and the salary transfer will be almost instant, spontaneous if you are following the NEFT timing. So please do contact us if you want to know and understand more about this. Then let us learn about setting up your payroll and creating your structure using the salary components that we have created. So firstly, I'm going to go to the create structure option. So in create structure option, I've already created multiple structures. So if you want to create another one, click on create structure and select the regular structure. If you have contractual employees, you can also create a contract salary structure as well, which will only have your stipend or your professional fees and 10% or 7.5% of TDS. So the normal structure would look like this. These are the statutory components like I informed, your basic HRA, PF, ESI and special allowance. And if you want to add more components, you can add more components by clicking on the add another salary component option. I'm adding medical allowance and I'm adding vehicle allowance. And I'm saving this. Now I added all the components that's required, the components which I created. I added all of them and I created a structure. So this is my salary structure now. Once it is created, sorry about that. Once it is created, you can also go to assign structure and assign the structure to your employees. You can either select one employee or you can select all your employees, or you can do a filter according to designation and location and assign the structure to your employees. So now I'm assigning it only for one employee. Select the structure, give an effective date and apply. So like this, you can assign structure to any of your employees or all of your employees in one shot. And once that is done, you can go to Run Payroll, and in Run Payroll, you will be able to see all the details that you need to see as an HR administrator before processing payroll for your employees. So now your attendance and leave, it will show all the anomalies and all the defaulters for that particular month. Now let me take May month. So I have so many defaulters. These many employees have not logged in on time, or they have not logged out on time, or they have not logged in at all. So there are a lot of anomalies for these employees, which it is showing. Now according to that, system has also given them loss of pay. If you want to make changes to this, you can click on edit and make changes. So for this employee Anil Sharma, I'm making loss of pay numbers as 0. Sorry, I've already processed payroll for this month, so that's why it gave me the error, but you get the point. And it also will show all the leave details, how many leaves are applied, how many leaves are approved, how many leaves are still pending or rejected. You can see the leave status as well. And if you have any salary revision made in that particular month, it will also send you or show you the names of those employees who are having the salary revision for that particular month. And then you have variable and ad hoc. This is where you will actually add all the variables and ad hocs for that particular month. This month, May, I don't have any variables to show. If you want to add ad hoc, you can go to ad hoc, add your employee name here, select the name, and add the ad hoc component. Put the value, and you can save this. And if you want to hold somebody's salary, you can use the salary on hold option, add your employee's name, and hold the salary. Lastly, you can also override your income tax and professional tax. This is actually not needed, as Kredily will calculate your IT and PT by itself accurately, precisely. You don't actually need this, but if you still want to make changes to income tax or professional tax for whatever given reason, you can click on the edit button and make changes for both income tax and professional tax. After everything, you can go to the pay register, select your employees, and process payroll. So now in this case, I've already processed payroll for the first 2 employees. Now I'm selecting the 3rd employee and I'm running payroll for him. So this is called as batch processing. You can create multiple batches according to department location or even designation, and you can process payroll or process salaries for them in batches. Now once the payroll is processed, I'm also generating payslip for this employee. Select the employee and click on the generate payslip option. This will generate the payslip for that employee. And the last option is the payout. This is where you will get an option to do the payout. So this employee Anil, I have processed payroll for it. If I have to do the payout, I'll click on that employee, select that employee, and if I have integrated the bank, I will get a payout option and I can do the payout from right here. And lastly, you can also download your PF ECR, your consolidated reconciliation report, net pay report, gross versus net pay report directly from Kredily. PF ECR can be directly uploaded in your EPF portal. This is a ready-made file. You don't have to do any changes to it. You can download it from here, log into your EPFO portal and upload it. So this is pretty much everything about how to use Kredily and how to run payroll and generate payslips for your employees. If you have any questions,